Welcome to another episode of Reacting Reddit, where real humans read, react, and summarize trending topics and people using content on Reddit to better explain things for you. So today we're going to be celebrating the life of Christopher Plummer, who actually died today. But we're not going to get sad about death, because everybody dies. We're going to focus on some of the really cool shit that Christopher Plummer did. So, as you guys know, making movies is big business. A lot of money goes into it. And believe it or not, this guy did all of his scenes in this movie, all the money in the world, in 9 days, which is crazy. That is totally crazy. Imagine if you could actually film all of the scenes for a movie in just 9 days. That never happens. And in this case, the whole movie wasn't filmed in 9 days. It was just his parts that were refilmed in 9 days. Because originally, this movie was about this dude, Kevin Spacey. And unfortunately, that dude has some intense allegations of sexual abuse and other things. So all of the Hollywood movie people were like, well, we already have him in a bunch of scenes, and we don't want to support him anymore. Well, actually, we don't give a fuck about supporting, sexist, masochistic assholes, because we're Hollywood and it's what we do. But at this point, everyone else knows that he's sexist and masochistic, and he's being charged. So, ethically, at this point, we gotta act like we care, right? So, they, in 9 days, replaced all of the scenes that this dude was in with Christopher Plummer. And keep in mind, when this happened, Christopher was getting like 88 or 89. That's remarkable. I want to live to the point where even in my old age, even when I'm 88 or 90, I am still challenging myself, doing amazing things with what I love. Because ultimately, if you die doing that, oh, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, could you ask for any other death that's more deserving? I'm always jealous and envious of people who are able to die after living a life doing what they love. And even in the time of death, when you listen to their words and their reports and watch their videos, they talk about how they're grateful for their life. That is how I want to die. I want to look back on my life, even in my moment of death, and know that I did the best that I could to help people, given the plate that I was given. I'm excited. Well, I'm not excited to die, but I'm excited to live a great life that my dying death, puts the cherry on top of, right? So this was originally by Johnny W94. And now that we're done with context, let's get into these replies talking about Christopher Plummer. Exley Pierce says, Christopher Plummer and Ridley Scott are my new inspirations for getting my essays in on time for deadlines. Benjamin Talon replies, my crowning achievement in life was running out of the classroom to go to the library and type a paper when I saw people handing it in. I came back to drop it on the pile as everybody was leaving class. A. Oh, that's so funny. It's like, oh shit, I forgot that paper was due today. But how was he able to just leave the class the whole time? I guess sometimes it's better to have like a tardy or an unexplained absence in a class than miss a whole paper. That being said, in the school that I went to, it's funny because at certain points they had a zero tolerance policy for if you missed a class, you got in a lot of trouble. But then by the time I left, they basically stopped giving a fuck about that entirely. And like seniors would have empty blocks, which means that there's actually parts of the day where the senior can do whatever they want. And they're allowed to like leave the school and stuff. So I never made it to be a senior in high school, but I felt like a senior when I was in sophomore. So I was like, well, if they can do it, I may as well do that too. Yeah, that didn't go so well. But it ended up working out. Joe McKim says, it probably helped that Plummer already had the correct look for the role, unlike Spacey, who had to go through a lot of makeup to look like the role. Not sure why they didn't just cast someone like Plummer, Max von Sydow, Ian McKellen, or someone like that in the role to begin with. Probably something to do with money. Everything in Hollywood has something to do with money. Oakface says, opting not to watch any of Spacey's footage. This is incredible. If we can watch both versions, then we can truly see how the two actors worked independently of each other. Yeah, apparently they actually, he not only did he replace all the footage in 9 days of filming and memorize all the lines, but he did it without even watching Kevin Spacey's version, which is pretty amazing and really admirable, to be honest. Cupcakes are the devil says, yeah, I'm super curious what the alternative cut with Spacey would look like, since this sort of thing is never actually done. Renholder86 says, what a legend. This kind of unprecedented, so it would be cool in the future to see cuts of Spacey's take. Oh crap, it's Andrew says, have a screening pass to see it tonight. Very intrigued to see how well, or not well, the last minute shooting editing comes together. Right? That blindsided me in the article. I had no idea he'd met the man. I'd have to imagine that would help. Yeah, that was pretty funny. What did you know about Getty before taking the role? Not much. I only met him once. Imagine meeting someone and then 20, 30 years later, you play that person in a movie. It's kind of surreal, isn't it? Commissioner Valchek says, I wonder if his view of Ridley Scott as a director might be a little skewed by the circumstances, especially since Plummer seems to say this is the first time they've worked together. He says Scott only does 1 or 2 takes because he seems to have the entire cut of the movie already in his head. But of course the entire cut of the movie was already done when Plummer started shooting. And Scott might have deliberately limited himself to a couple of takes per scene just to get it done in time. From the Blade Runner documentary, I get the impression that Scott does tons of takes, but then he might have just gotten more efficient over the course of 35 years. Scott is famous for getting a ridiculous amount of setups done in a day. Averages like 6 to 10, and Scott averages like 15. I think your instinct on his experience is on point. Blade Runner was only his 3rd feature film, even though he says he learned a ton from his commercial work experience. A friend of mine worked on a few Scott productions, told me Scott will focus a lot on rehearsals with the actors, but then on the set he's focused on the technical. Allegedly, he and Russel Crowe didn't really get along, but because of this approach, they just work and fit together well. And Scott already made the fucking movie, so he knew exactly what he wanted. Easy peasy. J. Paul Getty snaps the necks of all the kidnappers, but god dang, does it look visually stunning and pretty in slow motion. Bogus Life says, I worked as an extra on a film with Christopher Plummer. Typically filming is about 8 hours of sitting around, and within 2 hours of filming tops. That day with C-Plumm lasted a little under 2 hours, and you could have heard a pin drop when he was on set. I gotta admit, it was pretty cool to see a stone-cold pro show up to work and everybody around him snapping into action. That adds up to only a 10-hour day. Crews would love that. That's a short day, because most of them are at least 12. Oh, Penguia says, props to the crew and staff involved too. That'd be a huge task on their end to keep everything consistent with what is already shot. Imagine the editing team working with existing footage and audio. Broken Wolf says, I imagine Spacey had box office cred before his dust-up. I'm sure that played a role. Adult thrillers don't always go over well, but now awareness for this movie is huge. Rovinja says, not to be an ageist, but it's extraordinary to do all that work in 9 days, especially given how dramatic the role is. Yeah, and he was like 80-something. Chadwick Avenue says, I read that Ridley Scott has only submitted 11 minutes to the Golden Globes. How does that work for acting accolades? Do they take the director's word for how many minutes the actor is in and judge based on what was submitted? Patra Morani says, they were shown a rough cut of the film, but it was a full-length feature. The final version is probably just a little bit different. Bard0117 says, Ridley dropped everything to do this movie. He wasn't about to let this drop out of award contention over something so small as a sex scheme in Hollywood. Like, come on, this happens all the time. All right, everybody, that's it for now. If you like this kind of content, please do one of the following. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, watch another video, or comment below. And if you want to make videos and thumbnails just like ours, quickly, easily, and effectively with very little experience, that's what we specialize in, developing software for amateurs to make better YouTube content without being masters at what they're doing and with minimal editing. If you are worried about spending 10 hours editing 30 minutes of video, don't worry. We don't live in that world. We live in the world of trying to make the best of what you got right now, live, in one take. How can you make a useful video out of it? Look, I can make memes show up randomly. Jack Black's mind is getting blown. Oh my God. And then if you don't agree with that, you could just be like, no, I don't agree, right? But if you want to give a thumbs up, yeah. Pretty girl thumbs up. Now, everybody's favorite person thumbs up. Look at this stuff. You can have a lot of flexibility. I will say it's pretty hard to run memes and read and comment and respond at the same time because it takes thought and energy to be like, oh, that's a comment. I need to agree with that by pressing number 1, giving a thumbs up. But hey, we're working on it. We're getting there. And if you want to be a part of this process, if you're a YouTube content creator and you want tools to make that easier, please reach out to us. Go to our About channel on this About page on this YouTube channel, do the capture code, get our email address, and send us an email saying hello, because we want to set up a Zoom call with you. We are looking for more future creators. Thanks for watching. See you next time.